Welcome to the Online Success Journey podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey podcast, Patience.
Welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 290. We have a wonderful guest for you today, so make sure you click to subscribe right now and you'll never miss a journey. I post 1 to 2 episodes each week and each guest has a fascinating story to tell. Joining us today is Kevin Wessels, author, the founder and the managing director of RevSherpas, LLC, a boutique business growth advisory and a customer experience strategy consulting firm for small to mid-sized businesses. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Patience. Thanks for having me. How's it going?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for coming. My audience are excited to hear your story, but just start by telling us one thing we are going to learn from you today that will help us on our journey to success.
Yeah, so I think what we're going to dive into is going to be beneficial to your listeners for two reasons primarily. One, we'll dissect my journey as an entrepreneur and how I got to be where I am to build my book of business, and how I've leveraged my online small business growth training academy to help others in the small business community recover, regrow, and really revitalize their revenues and profits in this challenging economic environment.
Wow. So I can't wait to hear about that. But let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my audience a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own online business?
Sure, absolutely. So I've been in corporate America for over 20 years and primarily in management consulting for over the past decade, working with some of the largest global financial institutions out there. And I had been laid off, and it got to a point where I had accumulated so much experience. I had the entrepreneur itch, and I felt it was the appropriate time for me to go out on my own and start delivering value and truly controlling my destiny, right? And so, based on my background, in consulting, which primarily involved strategic CRM, which is customer relationship management initiatives and digital customer experience transformations. I was able to apply that knowledge and skill sets to open up my own boutique. I recognize that there's a lot of elite, larger consulting firms that are really targeting the larger outfits, the larger global brands, but there aren't many, if any at all, that are tailoring their solutions, products, and services towards sole proprietors, towards individuals who want to transition from corporate and really smaller firms, right? So it's going well. It's been great, and as I indicated, at the cornerstone of my offering, in order to drive change, in order to educate, in order to equip, enable, and empower business owners, I am utilizing my RevSherpas Growth Academy, which is my small business growth online training portal.
What a background, Kevin. I know you mentioned about you got laid off, but why do you do what you do?
Yeah, good question. Well, I like consulting for a couple of reasons, because I think it's really one of the few industries that blends operations with sales. Essentially, it's everything. You are a specialist in a particular niche if you so desire. And right now, I'm working with a lot of digital agency owners and service-based businesses in particular. But a lot of occupations, you're going to be heavily weighted towards one particular skill set over the other. But with consulting, you have to do a little bit of everything. So it's a challenge, and it's an excellent way to come in, diagnose, dissect, analyze, business operations, determine what the root cause of their primary pain points and challenges are, and in order to convey and properly articulate the appropriate solution. And to get them on board, there is a little bit of sales and marketing and communication to that as well. But once you are engaged and you're on board helping the client solve their issues, you absolutely have to execute. And that's where the operations program project management comes in. So for that reason, I really love consulting.
Let's put man aside. How do you know you are successful?
Yeah, good question. So it depends on the person, right? I mean, there are some that are solely focused on money, and that's not what it's about. That can be a sign of success if you are in fact getting rewarded for your efforts. Um, but really, in my viewpoint, it's more about the optimal blend between getting the compensation that you deserve while also delivering value to your prospects and clients, and upon doing so, truly being satisfied and fulfilled with what you're doing to impact your target audience.
You've been in business for a long time. What have you learned from business as a whole?
Yeah, that's a great question. Regardless of your pedigree, regardless of your background, regardless of your experience, you have to stay humble. Admittedly, I came into launching my own venture, expecting to come out of the gates strong. And quite frankly, I didn't. And the more business owners I help, the more business owners I network with. It's quite common across the board. It takes a while to get things rolling. Just because being off on your own, it's unlike anything you've ever been accustomed to. If you have in fact been in a more structured, formal corporate environment. So in a way, having the support of people in a traditional office or corporate setting, there are advantages to that. When you're off on your own at first, you have to immediately learn what you need to focus your time on. You have to prioritize the activities in your daily routine that are going to get you to where you want to go. Primarily the cash flow generating activities, right? And then sometimes in order to do that, you have to bring on staff, you have to outsource. And for some, that's going to be a new arrangement. So I guess in a nutshell, if you want to launch your own business, I highly encourage you to do so. Take your time doing the due diligence, but once you're getting close, go all in, and just know you're going to have some ups and downs, and it's going to be harder than anticipated. But if you stay after it, it's certainly worth it.
Tell my audience about the magic moment, the day suddenly all went right for you.
Yeah, I'd like to think that I still have more of those as my business continues to scale. But I think the moment I knew I had arrived really were two scenarios. One, close to launching my boutique management consulting firm. In order to really, before I went all in, I put the final touches on my first book on Amazon, which I self-published, and I did that right during the peak of the coronavirus, and that was a huge accomplishment. It took me a while to actually polish it up and finally get it out there. But just seeing that, seeing my name on the front of a book on Amazon was pretty amazing, and that certainly brought joy to my life and business. And what I've done since then, I've actually been able to leverage a portion of the title of that book, which, by the way, is Client Connect. And I have leveraged that into my internationally proven and proprietary Client Connect formula, which helps business owners find clients with less effort and create more steady, predictable cash flow. And so once I determined that that was the appropriate way for me to position myself as the go-to consultant, not just in my community, but on the global stage for small business owners, that certainly was one of the watershed moments in the evolution of my business.
So were those your earliest moments of the onset of coronavirus?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, it certainly has been a challenging environment for many. That's an understatement. At the same time, I think we've learned a lot. I, as a consultant, had been working out of the home or remotely, occasionally traveling to see clients for the most part. So for me, working remotely hasn't been that much of a shift. I've been doing it for almost 10 years now, but my prospects and clients, absolutely, it's been a huge transition. I think it allows people to just be more grateful, more thankful, and more prepared for what they are setting out to achieve. But going back, gosh, it's been a little bit over a year ago. It was pretty crazy because I was fortunate enough to take a family vacation to the Dominican Republic in Punta Cana. We stayed at this luxurious private resort. It was Tortuga Bay, and at the time, I guess I imagine we were probably one of the last people in early March of 2020 to be able to travel outside of the states and be allowed back in. But while we were there, other parts of the world clearly were already dealing with COVID-19, and so occasionally, you come back to your accommodations, you turn on the TV, and it was just fascinating to see the news. The stock markets across the globe were declining. People were getting infected. People, unfortunately, were dying at a very rapid rate. And you just saw all the footage, all these individuals, the frontline workers with all their equipment on, in various large cities across the world, individuals in hazmats, spraying the subways, spraying the sidewalks, the plazas, the streets. And so I envisioned when I came back to where I live, I'm in Houston, in the center of the U.S., and I just envisioned that kind of be the same here, but it took a while for us to get there. um, you know, Luckily, vaccines are on the way for everyone, and they seem to be distributed at an excellent pace now, which is a relief for everyone. But when I did get back, I have two daughters, and the oldest was in preschool and daycare, and they knew that we had been on vacation for a couple of days, and they were kind of looking at us, are you safe to be back? It was kind of one of those, though my actual daughters didn't go, but I guess they naturally were worried that the parents could be contagious or infected somehow, right? Um, but a few days later, there's a huge event here in Houston called the rodeo. Lots of cowboys and gosh, I don't even go that often, but they have country music. It's a big event, bull riding, lots of parades and rides for the kids. It's a good event for kids and adults. But that was canceled, and so I was driving home from picking up my daughter, and I think it was around middle of March, and I saw the sign that the rodeo was canceled. I was like, oh, this thing is real. I think it's finally arrived in my community. So that's my reflection on good
Wow.
old COVID.
It's not easy. You've been in business, as you mentioned, for many years, over 10 years, and you have met small businesses, big businesses. But can anyone be an entrepreneur, or are some people more cut out for it than others?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I say that at the same time, I think you can evolve into one or the other, right? You have to be comfortable with your abilities. You have to be confident in what you bring to the table, and you have to be confident in what you can learn along the journey and how you can refine and adapt your skill sets if you want to be a successful entrepreneur. At the same time, you need structure, and a lot of entrepreneurs, quite frankly, they lack structure. They lack proven processes to run their operations efficiently, and based on that weakness, that is one of the specialties of my firm. So I think you can in whatever problem you're setting out to solve, you need to apply the best or leading practices from both environments, the entrepreneurial space or corporate, because if you heavily lean one way or the other, you're just gonna get stuck and you're just gonna keep going through the motions. And if you lack that creativity to draw not just from other work environments, but from other industries, from competitors, quite frankly, you're going to get left behind. So I think even if you are in the corporate space, you have to have that entrepreneurial mindset just in order to really lock in on what you want to do, even if you aren't striving to go out on your own. You have to do what's right for you. Certainly, you want to do what's right for your company and the team, but you have to have solid individual goals as well, just so that you can achieve a solid career trajectory. And conversely, to wrap up here, if you are in fact out on your own, um, yeah, part of the battle is mindset. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have struggles. You're going to encounter adversity, but you have to just keep moving. And in order to move at a faster rate, you need to have well-defined systems, and a lot of those can be drawn from a structured, corporate environment, the military, so on and so forth.
As you mentioned earlier that you were forced to really start your own business. How long did it take you to pay yourself a salary?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, it was about 9 months. Now, for many, it'll take longer than that. Let's be clear. For others, maybe they were fortunate enough to come into a business in which, they already had established contacts. They had some clients teed up. Um, so for your listeners, really, it depends. I wouldn't gauge what I'm saying as a benchmark by any means.
What are you still doing in the way you work that you just know you have to stop doing?
Yeah, well, one of my core principles is social media is not it should not be your primary growth strategy. And there are so many people out there, individuals, corporate execs, business owners, including myself, just because the allure of what's happening, what's next. Though I think I do a very good job of limiting my time and eliminating distractions in my life to maximize my focus, I still think I could do even better. Um, and what I mean is, I think I have to go further and limit the amount of time that I am checking my social media platforms. Part of the reason I do it is for reputation, brand management, right? But do I really need to be checking it every day? Probably not. So yeah, I think I'll commit to that going forward.
If you could return the first year of your business, what would you definitely know to do?
Wow. Yeah, it relates to my last question. So in my case, in order to convey credibility to the marketplace, immediately upon launching, I wanted to make sure that my websites, my core corporate website, my training academy website, my social media platforms, I wanted to make sure that they were respectable and actually had a track record with demonstrating expertise with various blog posts and just value added third party educational articles. In retrospect, I'm not ashamed that I did that, but that was not the right move. I should have spent more time networking. I should have spent more time prospecting, even while I was in the pre-launch or launch stage. I think that would have helped me get clients in the door a lot quicker.
Do you have a mentor or a coach in your business?
I have a few, absolutely, and I'd encourage everyone out there to at least have one, if not a couple. And let me break it down for you. So on the one hand, um, my mentors, they're a lot older than I am. I go with people who have really seen it all, and I do that intentionally. On the one hand, there's a gentleman who helps me particularly in the areas of business finance. On the other hand, there's a lady who helps me from a marketing strategy standpoint. And then thirdly, I also have a gentleman in my network who's more into mindset and motivation. There are certain individuals who, including myself, who can address all of those needs. But again, the fastest path to becoming extremely profitable is to surround yourself with people who've done it before, who know not just what to do, but what not to do. And for that reason, I have invested heavily in myself and invested in the services of outside consultants and coaches to bring really a different perspective to my business, just so that I truly am able to incorporate their viewpoints in order to do things more effectively and efficiently as I continue to grow and scale my consulting practice.
What is the most valuable thing your mentors has told you?
Yeah, it sounds simple, but I think be yourself, be genuine, be authentic. And I would have never thought that I would need that type of advice, because maybe this is coming through during this chat, maybe it's not, but for the most part, I'm not a high-powered, fast-talking, gung-ho, enthusiastic person. When I'm on a business discussion, when I'm just having a casual conversation with friends or family. But there were times earlier on as I was trying to get my name, get my brand, get my message out there, in which I would try to overdo it a little bit. And I think I wasn't coming across as genuine. And so it's better to just be yourself. Certainly work on your craft, work on your pitch, work on your presentation, but just be yourself. You don't always have to be enthusiastic or salesy in order to get results.
What grounds you?
What grounds me? What exactly do you mean? Yeah, I'm extremely busy with my growing practice, and that's a good thing. When I'm not in the trenches, grinding, if you will. Right now the March Madness college basketball tournament is on, so I try to absolutely catch a couple of those games. I'm a sports fan, but I also on the weekends certainly carve out time to be with my family. Go to the park. Luckily, I live in a climate that is really warm year round, and that certainly helps. So trying to be outside as much as possible, and also certainly all like I indicated earlier, need to continue investing in my continuing education, and that does take time. And I've found that if I don't put dedicated time on the calendar, that I'm not going to get to it. So, essentially it's, family, sports is my main hobby, and then, working on my business. Those are my main focuses these days.
What is one thing that has contributed to your success?
Well, I'd have to say, growing up, I was actively involved in sports. And so you asked earlier about mentors. I could have gone on and on about that, not just my current cast of mentors, but in my prior life, all the coaches from an athletic standpoint that I had up until high school certainly influenced me profoundly. They would say some crazy things at time, but it really instilled in me, you have to keep moving, you have to keep driving, you have to, if you're in a hole, fight, scratch, and claw to get out, right? And just being on the playing field in a competitive atmosphere, that really has continued and allowed me to transition into the corporate world, because there are parallels. You do need to learn how to collaborate, communicate effectively, and if you break it down, that at its core essentially relates to being a good teammate in the sports atmosphere.
As a multi-publisher author, how and why did you get into writing?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. Again, maybe this is the theme of the call. If you want to write a book, it takes a lot longer than you think it should. um, yeah, I've written, gosh, I'm up to 6 books now in a little over a year, and I wouldn't recommend anyone do that. Actually, that's not many people can do that. But it took me a while to get good at writing. In high school, I took one of the higher English classes, and I didn't get A's. I didn't get great scores. But when I got to college, maybe it was just due to repetition. Maybe it was the fit of the professor. But they noticed that I was a pretty good writer, and the first consulting firm I worked for, I'm forever grateful because the CEO encouraged all the consultants to promote their individual brand, and I chose to do that by contributing to their blog frequently. And it was then, upon, I think I wrote over 100 blogs, and by doing that, I had a devout fan base or reader base, and I recognized, wow, maybe I actually am a better reader or writer than I previously thought, or than professors and teachers had thought in the past. And so I realized, hey, it's actually, this is a viable way for me to educate and train my clients, because all my client family members, they receive access to all 6 of these books. 2 of them are on Amazon, but I give it to them just as a benefit of being one of my clients. The other 4 are ebooks, and again, don't underestimate an ebook. That takes time too. You don't want to put out a sloppy, unpolished product. But yeah, just over time, I'm always looking to get better, and writing is just an excellent way for me to really emphasize my unique strategies and tactics that I'm recommending for my clients.
Wow, thank you for sharing. Let's talk about your business. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so again, RevSherpas based in Houston. We're a boutique management consulting firm. We specialize in revenue and profit growth acceleration, as well as CRM and customer experience strategy. And we leverage our internationally proven and proprietary client connect formula. And we do that in a couple of ways. On the one hand, we work directly on private one-on-one consulting engagements with first-time executives, or startup founders, solopreneurs, those that are in the process, or most recently transitioned from corporate, or with established business owners who are in need of a turnaround, or they've reached really a plateau in their business. They've been successful, but they want to break through and really scale and elevate to the next level. I do take on larger engagements as well, typically with businesses that are going to be under 50 employees or so. And then what I'm also proud about is I also lead and oversee RevSherpas Growth Academy, and that is my online small business training platform. And it's great for individuals who prefer a do-it-yourself model. A lot of early stage entrepreneurs, let's face it, they might be cash constrained, right? Or they just might be going in multiple directions, moving a million miles a minute, right? And so this platform sends them every week business building and marketing mastery training emails. All of those are archived, so if they ever are tied up with prospecting or client engagements, they can go back when they have free time and really learn at their own pace. But the program goes for 52 weeks, so every week a new concept in various facets of business growth are sent to them. We're all about mastering the business fundamentals. Again, we're not into social media. We take a far more comprehensive, multifaceted approach to building and sustaining a profitable business, and that's reflected in the curriculum we've put together. Besides business fundamentals, we also are constantly adding new material and features. For instance, in the past 6 months, we added financial statement analysis training, which is designed to help business owners really get more out of their income statement, their balance sheet and cash flow statement, just so they can better understand their numbers, but also determine what they need to do next to really untap and uncover hidden revenue and profit potential. Besides that, we've also included a recent crash course on sales mastery, because a lot of business owners, for no fault of their own, are great at what they do, but they're technicians and they just need a little bit of help in how they can actually better communicate the value add that they bring to the table. But overall, the training academy is really broken down into 5 themes: 1, lead generation; 2, sales conversions; 3, transactions and how you actually get more out of your existing client base; 4, pricing optimization; and then 5, overall profit, with the goal to empower a business owner to run a multi-million-dollar operation.
Is this a monthly prescription or is it a one fee?
It's actually both. I think what's unique about my consulting services, I don't have cookie cutter programs or pricing for that matter. So, there is flexibility in the sense that if someone is looking month to month, they could pursue that type of membership. But what I found to be more effective is a lot of business owners, they do need more than just a do-it-yourself online webucation module. So in that case, I would be able to work with them on a one-to-one basis, terms which certainly could be worked out to supplement what they are learning in the training academy. So in that case, that might be month to month too. It would certainly come with a larger investment, but there's always opportunities to save, with more of an upfront investment. Absolutely.
And where do we find your Rev Academy?
Yeah. It's RevSherpasGrowthAcademy.com. And actually, if you go there, right on the front, I'd encourage you to put in your name and email, and you can actually learn a little bit more about my consulting methodology and download a complimentary copy of my first book, which is called Exponentially Outperform in Any Economy. And as we all know, it's certainly relevant to today's environment.
Thank you. There will be more from Kevin in a moment. If you are listening to this on a podcasting platform and you are encouraged by Kevin's journey, please go to our website at onlinesuccessjourney.com. The site has tons of audio clips from hundreds of successful entrepreneurs' guests' journey, all there to help you find a path to your own online success journey. The site offers exclusive members-only content, and you can join absolutely free and be part of this amazing online success community today. Check it out. That's onlinesuccessjourney.com. Now, Kevin, I would love for you to share more with my audience if you're up for it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So to really elaborate on the Small Business Growth Training Academy, which again the website is RevSherpasGrowthAcademy.com. Besides the weekly training emails that clients will receive, there's also access to industry-specific marketing campaign templates. They're already pre-built for you, as well as hundreds of advertising libraries broken down by particular industry verticals or niche. You might be in the home service industry, be it plumbing, HVAC. Maybe you're in landscaping, pest control. Those are some of the more service-based businesses that you could actually go in and leverage advertising and marketing collateral that you could immediately start utilizing at the same time, I could work with you and put your own unique spin on it to truly reflect and represent your marketing, your market dominating position, essentially what your unique value prop is, right? So there's a lot of not just strategies and tactics, but we even give you the tools and templates to leverage, really just to help you save time and to increase your conversions as you set out to grow your business or practice.
If your business was down to its last $100, how would you invest it?
That's a very good question. I think I would, gosh, I have to think about that one. Here's what I would do. Advertising. I would put it in advertising because I've had success in advertising, in attracting. I mean, if you do have a good, solid understanding of who your ideal client is, your advertising, be it online, offline, wherever you're doing it, it's going to generate returns. So that's probably how I'd approach that one. But again, I'd encourage your listeners, to certainly have 12 months cash at least saved, just so you don't encounter that predicament.
Tell us what your favorite movie is that has some relevance to being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Let's see. Probably Glengarry Glen Ross. And some of your listeners might not like that answer, but here's why I like it. Yes, it has the sleazy sales aspect to it, but the reality is, regardless of your occupation, you're selling. You might not realize you are, but you have to promote yourself in order to really get your message across, in a formal or informal capacity. And I really like that movie because it has a tremendous cast. Some of the legends: Jack Lemmon, Al Pacino, Alec Baldwin. I'm leaving a few out: Ed Harris, Kevin Spacey, a few others. But all of them are just trying to grow their book of business. They're dissatisfied with their leads. Some actually find a way to get it done. Others just keep whining and they're struggling. You have the motivator with the sales trainer trying to come in and kick them in the butt to improve their results, but not many actually really appreciate what he's trying to get them to do. But I like the movie because it does an excellent job of portraying the peaks and valleys that entrepreneurs encounter, and you just have to keep going forward. As long as you have a solid blueprint, you have a solid roadmap, you have a solid plan in place, you're going to encounter obstacles along the way, but you have to look at those as opportunities and you have to fight through them and keep moving to get to the finish line. So it's a funny movie. It's it's a classic, and certainly like it because it certainly relates to building a business.
What is the best business book you have ever read?
Yeah, the best business book that I've ever read, it's not technically a business book because it deals with sports and entertainment and just well, it actually, I'll tell you, it's Moneyball by Michael Lewis. He's my favorite author, and he has written a lot of business-intensive books, among others. But Moneyball actually was the story of the Oakland A's back in the 90s when they were competing against the larger markets here in the U.S., such as the New York Yankees, and they lacked a budget, right? So it's very similar to a business owner who might not have as deep pockets as some of the global conglomerates that they're competing against. But the general manager of that particular sports team devised a scouting methodology built on particular data metrics, statistics, sabermetrics to really find these hidden gems that other teams were ignoring. They could get them for pennies on the dollar and then incorporate them into their unique team culture, and these guys would have amazing seasons, really come in and just have great seasons, and they would always be competitive and usually make the playoffs. And just the author does an excellent job of portraying real life situations and scenarios that happened. He's an excellent writer, and there's a reason it was a Hollywood blockbuster, and I think it even won a couple of Oscars.
If you are going to keep a note to yourself in your pocket every day, what would be written on it?
Yeah, probably stay after it. That's all I would say, because it's a constant reminder. It doesn't matter if it's personal, if it's business, you just have to keep going. It's not easy, but once you get into your rhythm, once you have momentum, you can capitalize on it, and then really your growth can accelerate from there. So just stay after it.
Do you feel like you succeeded or like you are only on the way?
Yeah, I do feel that I've succeeded, but absolutely, I want to do better. I want to help more people. I want to grow my consulting practice. I want to build a better life for my family. So I'm just really getting started. I have a bright future ahead of me, and I'm looking to accelerate my ascent to the top of the mountain for sure.
Will you ever stop?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that, because my dad, for instance, or other individuals, they reach a certain age, and you think, when should they retire? When are you going to hang it up? There's a lot of famous athletes that continue to operate at a peak level, and some get injured, some don't. But oftentimes, someone will retire, and then they just don't know what to do with their free time. And I'll probably be that person. But again, that's one reason I like consulting, is because you can positively impact an individual or business's life. And you don't have to necessarily do it in person. A lot of it can be done remotely. And like I said earlier, I have many mentors who are nearly twice the age of I am. So there's opportunity to help people for sure. But I absolutely do want to spend time with my kids and help them raise their families eventually. But I got a ways to go.
Okay. Remind us how we can connect with you.
Yeah. There's a couple of ways. Again, my training academy is at RevSherpas.growthacademy.com. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. I'm consistently sending out articles and blogs, not just from my own company, sharing unique insights in the areas of personal development, business development, as well as leadership development and employee engagement. So yeah, you can always find me on LinkedIn, or on Twitter. It's Kevin M. Wessels. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of me if you just Google me.
Wow. Kevin, it's been great to have you here to share your online success journey with us.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Patience. This was a blast, and thanks for having me today.
Thank you for coming. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey. Patience and Kevin.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to Patience and her guest, and want you to know there are hundreds of episodes available at onlinesuccessjourney.com. Patience would like to thank you for listening to the podcast, and she has a free gift for you on her website, including an audio compilation of her guests' best tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. Additionally, there are special clips of over 250 episodes that have never aired on the podcast, and they're only available to members of the Online Success Journey. Check the website and click on Join Now to get free and instant access. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed on your favorite platform to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review the podcast at iTunes and other sites. We appreciate your help and your willingness to share your journey. One last thing. If you're feeling a bit lost or overwhelmed on your own journey, Patience can help. Check out her course on clarity while you're at the website. Finding clarity is a great way to get back on the right path. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.